Hello, my Marvel and horror peeps. We were given a sweet little treat today because Marvel has released their TV special, Werewolf by Night. And on this Disney Plus special, we follow a group of characters that gather together to compete in earning themselves a bloodstone. From here, our main character, Jack Russell, will try to survive the night while also having other motives. And that's all pretty much say without giving any spoilers to you guys. Now, this is a pretty interesting era in the MCU. They are really going all out and trying a whole bunch of different things. I think we all remember just a couple years back when Kevin Feige stepped onto the stage and said we would be getting so much more MCU content we could enjoy at home with these Disney Plus series. Some of us have kind of grown thin with that formula, so I was really interested to see what this Disney Plus TV special would look like, where essentially it's going to be a mini movie, and they did something I didn't expect the MCU to do, basically give us a little film inspired by the 1930s and 40s of early horror movies. A lot like what the Universal monster movies used to look like with Frankenstein, the Werewolf Man. It's ambitions and stride like this that I just do not get the people that say all Marvel content feels exactly the same, they don't do anything new, when this right here is a clear example of them getting creative and imaginative in the cinematic universe. Michael Giacchino, I thought, did a fantastic job directing this TV special. We mainly know him as a composer for a lot of our favorite films, even some MCU films. He's given a great score to Tom Holland's Spider-Man franchise and even Robert Pattinson's Batman, and it looks like this man is multi-talented because I'd love to see him make more of an impression on the MCU after this. Because it's one thing to put a black and white filter over your characters and a little cigarette burn off to the side to give it that aesthetic that we're watching a movie that was made in the 30s or 40s. But it's a completely different thing for that to actually feel that way within the characters, in the music, and the tone. I thought all really worked. The actor Gael Garcia Bernal, who plays Jack Russell in here, our Werewolf by Night. I don't think that's a spoiler to say there's a werewolf in this thing. His introduction to the MCU was handled well, but what the MCU did even better was their introduction of werewolves in this universe. It's really only like a 50-minute long TV special. It goes by pretty quickly, and they kind of wait a while to introduce this werewolf to where I had to check the title and be like, is this still about a werewolf? But everything leading up to that werewolf transformation, the little details that this character has to put himself through to not harm those around him. And then us finally getting to that transformation scene, which if you're someone who has watched any werewolf movie, you know a werewolf transformation scene is kind of crucial. Everybody has their own unique take on it, and for sure Michael Giacchino does his take here that I think is actually pretty effective. The other thing I was kind of surprised with this is that Marvel wasn't afraid to get a little gory. Maybe because it was black and white, they got away with showing blood. But for Disney and Marvel standards, there were a couple of moments in here where I was like surprised with what they did. The other big topic of conversation was something they revealed in the trailers, which I'm surprised because I feel like that was the biggest surprise in this special, is Man-Thing. Now, I'm not going to pretend and act like I know a lot about Man-Thing or I was a big comic book Man-Thing guy back in the day, but from the little bit I saw in just this Disney Plus special, I want more Man-Thing in my life. The effects on the creature looked really good. The little bits of information we got on it, I wanted to know more, and even towards the final act, while some people might think it turned into being a huge joke fest, I thought was a campy, nice moment, no pun intended. Because lately it feels like a lot of us Marvel fans are just holding a magnifying glass to these Marvel movies and being like, you make one joke, and we're gonna hate this thing. But I would argue for like 90 to 80% of this thing, it keeps it pretty serious and straightforward, and then just some lightheartedness towards the end. Also, I gotta say, I'm loving how the MCU can sometimes bring us these casual stories that don't rely too much on the outside MCU world. There's very little references to stuff going on in the universe. I think some people might even come out disappointed going, that's it? How is this gonna connect? What does this mean? What is this, like a big Easter egg to something huge? And that kind of sucks that that's sometimes the mentality people have when watching these things, is it ends and they go, okay, so what was the point of that? No, we could just get a casual, nice one-off story that doesn't need to have huge major implications on the rest of the MCU, but maybe does introduce you to some characters we'll see in the future. The only real gripe I had about this whole thing is just the length. It was short, you know? I wish Marvel would commit to just making these made-for-streaming movies. Because now it's just becoming so contrived with everything you have to keep up with in the MCU. You know, you have the 6-episode series, you have the 9-episode series, you're about to have the 18-episode series. Now we got these TV specials. And even though this was short and I wanted it to go on longer because there was so much more I wanted to see in this specific special, I 100% see how they could have stretched this out into a 6-part series that would have annoyed all of us. And I think other people will notice that too. You'll have the moments where like, oh, you're introducing the characters, that's one episode. Then you bring up the premise and what they're going to do, that's another episode. Then they actually start competing in the games and going after this thing to earn the Bloodstone. There's another episode. Then our two most important characters meet and share their backstories and where they come from. There's your other episode. Oh, then we get introduced to Man-Thing. Big cameo episode for everybody. And then the finale where we finally get what the title has been saying, The Werewolf by Night. No joke, I bet you at one point this was probably going to be a Disney Plus series and they thought, let's see what would happen if we remove all the fluff and just make it one contained thing. Still, that's just a personal preference with what I've been seeing happening with these Disney Plus series. Some of you guys might feel differently about that, but I do want to know from you guys. For me, I think it's a recommendation to check this thing out, especially if you want something new. Watch it at night. It's the Halloween season. I think it really sets the mood. It's a new, different take on the MCU. Just don't be expecting big world-changing events and just kind of a creepy story with some really great visuals. Let me know what you guys thought about Werewolf by Night if you got to checking it out. Do you like it? Did you not? Do you think Marvel should stick to doing more of these self-contained stories, or these 6-part, 9-part episodes are the way to go? Anything and everything, be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3CFilms or on TikTok at 3CFilms. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.